No, there's no glamour in fighting a coward. There's no glamour in fighting a coward. None. I don't fight cowards. I only fight real men. So to say that's a glamour fight, no way. My glamour fight was fighting the 43-0 Deontay Wilder in America versus Babrik. That was my glamour fight. The first time two heavyweight champions have fought each other undefeated.
Deontay Wilder.
Ali fought Frazier for the first time. That's my glamour fight. This other bum fight over here with Joshua, it was a bit of like a Sunday roast. People only respect it in England. And Usyk will be a walk in the park.
Wow.
Butcher him. And then,
wow.
Who else is there?
Joyce was where I was going, but I've been told to wrap it up. So
Well, let me wrap this up nice and quick. If Usyk don't want no smoke in February, then let's do Joyce at Wembley. You heard it here first. Joe, get your skates on, get fit, moosh, because if the middleweight don't want no smoke, you're in. Because I'm fighting 3 times next year, and you can be one of them.
Tyson Fury, the best heavyweight in the world, back December 3rd.
Back.
It up, so
Well, let me wrap this up nice and quick. If Usyk don't want no smoke in February, then let's do Joyce at Wembley. You heard it here first. Joe, get your skates on, get fit, moosh, because if the middleweight don't want no smoke, you're in. Because I'm fighting 3 times next year, and you can be one of them.
Tyson Fury, the best heavyweight in the world, back to...
Wow. So we just heard there from your man's Tyson. Fury. This was some fire bars. Now, obviously there's people out there, YB, you're a Fury hater. I told you before. I look at things on a case-by-case basis. Now, I do have to say this off the rip, of course. Tyson Fury is a known waffler. Yeah, he could be saying a whole bunch of waffle, and before we know it, he ends up fighting Sefer Fury again. Let's be real now. If I sat here and told you that Tyson Fury definitely going to fight Joe Joyce, if it's not Usyk, I'll be lying to you. However, like I said, whatever Tyson Fury has done in the past, number one, whoever he goes in there with, and when he does go in there, he leaves it all out there. That's the first thing I respect him for, ultimately. And the second thing is, well, I'm not sure. I forgot what the second thing was, but the bottom line is, where I'm going with this is, like I said, I look at things on a case-by-case basis. And you can only take people at their word. Yes, he's a waffler. Yes, he's probably capping. But if he's not capping, if Tyson Fury genuinely... I think, to be quite frank, I think the Usyk fight does happen. But Fury just let slip there, he wants to fight 3 times next year. Well, guess what? Even if it's 2 times next year, well, I guess it'll be Usyk 1 and Usyk 2. But Fury's already said he's not retiring, so even if he fights twice next year, Usyk 2, guess what? Joe Joyce, he's right there anyway. So, to some extent, I mean, if he fights 3 times next year, then Joe Joyce is straight in the cut anyway, even if he does beat Usyk. So in a way, Fury has talked himself smack bang into a Joe Joyce fight. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to no one. If I sat here and told you, yeah, Joe Joyce is going to run through Tyson Fury, I'd be lying. What I'm saying is, though, that is the proper fight. And I agree with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury said Joe Joyce is the number 2 in the world. I agree with that. I think Joe Joyce, and that's the fight I really want. Fury and Usyk, don't really do it for me. I like sport, I like boxing when it's competitive. I'm not trying to watch. I think Fury, let's be real here. I know the Usyk fans, I know you man are gassed. I know you man are gassed that Usyk punched up the bodybuilder, but let's be real here. Anyone who actually knows what they're watching, watches AJ versus Usyk and sees there are limitations to Usyk in as much as he was, yeah, YB, he beat AJ. Yeah, he beat AJ, but AJ was a 1 out of 10 AJ. Do you understand? AJ didn't have no ambition, and Usyk at points was shit out of luck. Do you understand? AJ was in there doing a 4 out of 10 performance, and there was several times, even though he was a 4 out of 10 performance, even though he weren't bringing nothing to the table, even though he had no desire, still, there was many occasions Usyk had no ideas. Yes, I rate Usyk for coming back in the 10th round, but that 9th round, he was toast. Do you understand? It's only because AJ has no gas tank and has no heart that he got back in. Do you know what I'm saying? My point is, Fury, he'll put it on. I mean, we've seen Fury put it on Wilder. I'm sorry, but if you can march straight forward and put it on Wilder, you best believe you can march straight forward and put it all on Usyk. Yeah? So, the same way AJ was in there in round 9, and I'm not saying Fury's got the kind of the inside shots AJ does, but that's irrelevant. Having some inside shots for one round ain't no good. Fury, whatever Fury does, he'll put it together round after round after round. And Usyk going to get broken down. We saw it in both fights. And even in the first fight, Usyk, I think round 7 it was, you can see there's a reason there's weight divisions. That's what we saw. We saw glimpses of what a big man will do to Usyk. Several times he looked like, oh no. Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. If I'm wrong, listen, if Usyk goes in there, yeah, and is able to twinkle around with Fury, he'll get my full credit. I don't see it. In fact, and that's why I said to you, really, I want to see Joyce versus Usyk. That, for me, is the more competitive fight. I think Fury blows him out the water. But Usyk versus Joyce, that's the fight I really want. But we're not going to get it, because Team Joyce have about this much IQ. Team Joyce should have been bang on it, as I said they should have been. Guess what? I mean, it's mad. Joyce beat Parker in September, yeah? I was on here saying, Joe Joyce, get on the blower to the WBO. Frank Warren's in bed with WBO. That should have been the straight pattern. Easiest pattern ever. Yeah? Back in September, I was saying, why is Frank Warren and Team Joyce not banging on the WBO? 2-2s. 2 months later, in November, Eddie Hearn comes out. Yeah, we've got Hrgovic mandatory for... We've got Hrgovic stepping in the way now of the undisputed fight. 2 months after I told Joe Joyce to do exactly that. What the fuck? Who? These guys. These multi-million-dollar managers and promoters. 2 months later, Eddie Hearn comes along and just cucks you all. What are we doing here? So Joe Joyce, man, I'm sorry, yeah. He's got no one to blame but himself. When Joe Joyce ends up fighting some bum, I guarantee, I told you that 2 months ago. I said, I bet big money Joe Joyce ends up fighting a bum. Not because he's a bum slayer, but because he's dopey. I'm sorry, that's the only conclusion. The guy ain't thinking sharp. You're not thinking. You can't take people for their word. Take what people have delivered for you. What has Frank Warren delivered for you in 3 years? He was desperate for you to lose to Dubois. And really, he's done nothing for you since. What, a Joe Parker fight? And you only got that because Joe Parker wanted it. Frank Warren didn't get you the Joseph Parker fight. You got that because Joe threw you a bone in that sense. Let's be real now. Who here believes Joe Joyce fought Joe Parker because Frank Warren got him that? Absolutely not. Joe Parker was the one who threw you that bone. So in 3 years, you ain't been delivered nothing. Meanwhile, the man you beat, Dubois, has been given WBA regular belts on a plate, and the whole world's been opened up for him. That's what Frank Warren does. When Frank Warren backs you, he opens the world up to you. Look how many times Billy Joe got to fight for bum belts. Do you understand? Meanwhile, Joe Joyce, the most devastating heavyweight prospect of all time, in my opinion, is out here just flicking his bell end. Flicking his Johnson. What are we doing here? But anyway, I've digressed. The point is, it's all relevant, I guess. But listen, Fury come out and said, listen, if it's not Usyk, I want you, Joe. If Fury sticks to that word, yeah, and that's all I've been wanting from Fury. What we ain't going to do, though, a lot of weirdo, goober, man-sucker offers. They like to put people in positions like, oh, he's the greatest of all time. And people like to give their mantras without actually backing it up. Now, what I have said in the past is, if Fury starts sticking it on people like Joe Joyce and whatever else, then we can have a serious conversation about the greatest of all time. If Fury goes in there, yeah, washes Usyk, washes Joyce. Really, if he goes, I mean, look at that run. Wilder, Joyce, Usyk. If he goes on that kind of run, there's a serious question for the greatest of all time. To be on that, and I'm talking about also, obviously, assuming he stops Usyk. Assuming he stops Joe Joyce. If Fury stops Usyk and stops Joe Joyce, there's a serious conversation. Back to back. And that's why this Chisora fight hurts me to some extent. It hurts me for the sport because I think Fury's better than that. Fury's better than a Chisora fight. Now there's an argument, well, YB, he wants to stay busy. Listen, staying busy is cool. In my opinion, staying busy is relevant when you're fighting every 6 months. If you're not fighting every 6 months, there ain't no stay busy. Do you understand? If you fight twice a year, then you're any fight over that. So if you're fighting 3 times a year, you're allowed to stay busy. But what we ain't doing here is Fury fighting in April and then fighting eight months later and having a warm-up. No, warm-ups don't work like that. Warm-ups are when you say, okay, I'm fighting 4 times this year, 2 big fights, and I want to stay active. So every 3 months I'm fighting, and I'll throw one in there. That makes sense. Everyone can get behind that. We can't get behind. Essentially, Fury's going to be fighting once this year. Do you understand? He'll fight Dillian White, and he'll fight in December, and then maybe another one in 6 months' time. Do you understand? So that can't work. We can't get behind that. And that's why, like I said, it hurts to some extent, because I think Fury's better than... Well, we know Fury's better than the Chisora fight. Yeah, you can wheel in Gareth A. Davis all you want to sit there and top you off about how great Chisora is. Oh, Chisora's the best ever now. In fact, I think even Dev was even saying, oh, yeah, Chisora's the best version. Come on. Just stop making things up. Yeah? Chisora was clinging on by a thread against Pulev. Chisora was clinging on by a thread against Joseph Parker. That's not a man at the top of his game. It's just not. Any man who's in there clinging on for dear life against Pulev ain't in their top game. And Pulev himself was an old man. Do you understand? Like, come on. Fury's better than this. And really, there's an old saying, actions speak louder than words. And that is what worries me about Fury's words here. Oh, I want Joyce if it's not Usyk. Yeah, that sounds good. But when it came to AJ or Chisora or someone else, you picked the worst one of all. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on now. Oh, well, if it's not Joyce, I want Usyk. That sounds good. But what are the realities of that waffle? The realities of that waffle were Chisora. How does a man go from, if it's not Usyk, it's Joyce, to Chisora? The fuck? That made no sense. You know what I'm saying? How'd that work out? A man who sticks it on or a man who's out here trying to give smoke to Joe Joyce or to Usyk don't end up in a fight with Chisora, in my opinion. So that has to be said. Both sides. Really, it depends what Fury wants to do. If Fury wants to just waffle through his career, he'll carry on doing what he's doing. If he wants to really make an all-time great run, it's there for him. And it's not really, I've been saying it for a while, the heavyweight division isn't that dense. And that's why it's so important that you do go on a roll. It's not like there's a whole bunch of all-time greats just knocking around. Do you understand? The current crop isn't good enough for you to be having these random-ass fights. It's not. It's not deep enough to warrant. There's not that much opportunity to take big names out. And before you know it, I mean, look at AJ, for example. I don't care what no one says. AJ was trying to fight Wilder. AJ was trying to fight Fury. Back in 2019, 2018. Before he got beat. Look what happened there. Do you understand? Look what happened there. The fact Fury and Wilder, for whatever reasons, didn't want to fight AJ, yeah, that has taken away from their own legacies. Because anyone beating AJ now, it don't mean nothing. If Fury had knocked AJ out back then, do you understand? If Wilder had knocked out AJ back then, that would have been a real, yeah, boom. You've put a proper one on the resume. Now anyone can have, you know what I mean? Anyone can dust AJ off and have a go on him. Yeah, anyone can. Yeah. There's no medals for that. There ain't no medals for people dusting AJ off and having a quick go on him. Yeah, there's just not. And no one giving no medals for that one. That could have been wasted. And before you know it, I mean, again, there's no depth anyway. That's the bad thing about it. There is no depth. AJ was the top 3 guy, and you man just hung around the place and let Ruiz have a go on him, and let Mr. Middleweight have a go on him. So it's like, that was one opportunity wasted. And yeah, Fury beat Wilder. Salute for that. But before you know it, if you're not careful, I mean, Joyce is solid, but do you know what I'm saying? The more you hang around, the more things go wrong, especially in heavyweight boxing. There's always weird, funny style upsets. So Fury needs to get on it, get serious, and start going through it. If he really is as passionate about the sport as he says he is, there shouldn't be a problem. Go in there, have a go on Usyk, go in there, tear it out with Joe Joyce, and so be it. And if Fury does do that, like I said, man, he'll get full ratings. But too often with Fury, it's all the words, man. Can't be doing with the words. I can't be doing with, yeah, Chisora, you can have 2 months to negotiate or get the contract sorted, but AJ, you've got 2 weeks. How'd that work? Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, I want the AJ fight. He's playing games, but yet Chisora was allowed to play. Yeah, that stuff don't work for me. I don't know who it was. What we do know is Chisora, who is the lesser. Why was the lesser fight given more time? How that, you know what I mean? How that work? Fury, who really want the AJ fight allegedly, but put all these, you know what I mean? Put all these rules in whatever else in the mix. And that's been the case for a long time with Fury. He says one thing and the actions don't line up. It's about time. Oh, listen, he can do what he wants. He's got his fangirls. He's got his millions in the bank, so he don't really care. But I'm saying, from a purist point of view, from a greatness point of view, it's really up to him at this point. If he wants to go on a run, for example, I mean, he got Gareth A. Davis. Oh, what run? What run? Chisora's top 5 and all that rubbish. I'll tell you the run. These are the man. Back to back to back to back. No Chisoras. No Sefaris. These are the man, yeah? Check this out. Joyce. Usyk. Hrgovic. Just start popping all these dudes, yeah, who are unbeaten. What's the guy's name? The Cuban Don. The Cuban one who Canelo was sparring with. Frank Sanchez. Throw him in there. Jared Anderson. Just start going in there with these young bulls and taking out the whole next generation. That's what you should be on. Now, from Fury's point of view, well, they ain't got no name. And yeah, that is an argument. They haven't got no name. But guess what? I hate to break it to people, yeah, but the whole narrative has been, but Chisora's got a name, has he? Honestly, I don't know. I'm not involved in selling tickets yet, but I'd bet money. There's a whole weird shtick about, Chisora sells tickets. I don't know if he does sell tickets. I think Fury vs Chisora does a certain amount of sales. However, Fury versus a young prime bull like Hrgovic, like Jared Anderson, who's undefeated, with the right promotion behind it, I think that does better numbers. Ultimately, people aren't rocket scientists. We're not. Most casual fans aren't trying to do the maths. Of course, a superstar fight, yeah, that's going to sell catastrophic numbers. But when you're not fighting the big, huge names, what does sport come down to? Sport comes down to competitiveness. People want to see someone challenged. People want to see is there a question there? That's the main reason people turn to boxing fights. Is there a question? Or is it a certified he's going to win? Most people, and myself included, Fury versus Chisora is certified. There's no question about it. Now, Fury versus Jared Anderson. That's why people being undefeated is so revered. That's why people keep on to their O's. Because it's a man who's never been beat before. It's a man who's never had his cherry popped. Yeah? No man has taken his will from him. No man has pushed his dinner right the way back in for him. Do you understand? Yeah? That virgin, 100%. He doesn't know how to lose. Throw Fury in there with some of them ones, that gets the public's imagination going. Who here has any imagination? Who here's asking any questions of Chisora and Fury? No one. Yeah? And that's why it sucks. And that's why the pay-per-view numbers are going to flop. If he was going in there with a young bull, the show would have a chance. We've seen this before a million times. Don't no one need this one. Super champions like Tyson Fury should be above this, in my opinion. Someone like Chisora, I wouldn't even advise Joyce fighting Chisora, and he ain't even a champion. I'd be criticising Joyce for fighting Chisora. Do you understand? My man, he never had a belt, doesn't have a belt, and I'd criticise him for fighting Chisora. But Fury, the super champion, how the fuck? It don't make no sense. It don't. Anyway, here we are. I hope Fury's talking the truth. I'd love to see him go on a run. The jury's out, and time will tell. Let's get the Usyk fight done first. Although I'm not even really bothered actually. To some extent, I hope the Usyk fight don't happen. I want Usyk. I think the fight. I don't know what And that's the problem, you see. If Fury doesn't fight Usyk, what happens then? That's the issue. What does Fury do? I'm biased. I want to see Usyk versus Joyce. That's the much more competitive fight. That fight's got more questions about it for me. Fury versus Usyk, there ain't no questions. Because at least with Usyk versus Joyce, you can say, well, Usyk's got the speed. Usyk ain't got the speed versus Fury. I don't know what he does have. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell.